Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm Bonnie Violet. I'm trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, and a digital chaplain. I use she, they pronouns, and you found yourself on the Trans Joy Boise podcast with me and my co-host.
I'm Pacey. I'm trans mask. I use they, he pronouns, and I'm a mental health and recovery advocate.
Awesome, perfect. I threw in my extras this time. I was like,
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it was fast this time.
It was faster this time. Yeah. And welcome back from the holidays. Today is New Year's Eve. The day that we're recording this. And so many folks, just getting back from the holidays. I guess there's still technically one tonight.
Yeah.
That's still part of the holidays. But we also had a lot of we posted a lot more, I think, clips and stuff from our most recent episode through the holidays, hoping that more people could engage and have a resource or utilize the podcast as a resource during the holiday season. And that's actually what happened. You know, there was a lot of really great comments on our TikTok in particular. I felt like it had a lot of like engagement with folks saying like, oh, I really needed to hear this, or thank you for this. Or like there was one person was like, oh, I feel like such an asshole because I'm not with my family. And it's like, but they're like, but after listening to your podcast, I get it. I just need to take some space. And so that, which is great. I think that's what we were hoping for. And so it's kind of nice to know that.
Yeah, I love that.
For sure.
And just knowing, because it's so, once when we were recording up until now, it feels like it just went by like that, you know? So I think getting everything set up so that people can reach out if they needed it, and then just kind of go through the roller coaster of the holiday.
Yeah. That's something that I'm really hoping that we'll continue to do, is be able to really have like a relationship with you all that are going to watch and listen to us. Because, you know, maybe we're not going to be out in community all the time, or, you know, not everyone can get places, but I'd really like for us to be able to have more of a relationship with the folks that are listening to us, and telling us what we need to be talking about, telling us we don't know what we're talking about, like, you know, whatever. So I'm really excited about us building a little community online, and then meeting folks in person, of course.
But, yeah, me too. Yeah. It just feels so daunting sometimes to get in front of the camera and just talk to people and not really feel like they know me. Or, you know, I'm just like this representation of something. But I've been trying to post more things, just of like candid things to like kind of build a relationship, because you can reach out and talk to me whenever you want to. You know, I'm always available and I want to.
Yeah. And I know that both of us are like, oh, we'll be in front of the camera because we feel like this is what we need to do. We both have our own anxieties and nerves about it, but it also feels like it's a very important tool for us to do our advocacy work and stay connected with our community, especially as we get into the next year. 2025 brings a lot forward for us, but we wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of reflecting on 2024. I mean, it's what everybody does, right? It's like New Year's Eve, so like all of social media just full of like, you know, 50,000 pics of what happened to people this year, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And so what are some of the things that come to mind for you as far as 2024?
Oh, wow. 2024 was all over the place for me. I started it off with a pretty rough breakup. But I also started testosterone in January. So that was, and I had taken testosterone a few years ago, and I stopped, and then I started again in January. So I feel like I've simultaneously been in my transition for years.
I was going to,
and also I'm just at the beginning of it.
Well, and you're back at almost a year again then. So you were on testosterone this whole year?
Yeah.
What kind of things did you notice? Or how was the experience for you?
It was different this time just because I felt like my dose was accurate. The last time I did it, I think the doctor that I was with was new and a little inexperienced.
Right.
So my dose was never right. Like, we would go and I'd get my blood work done, and it was always way too high, and I never got a lot of the changes that I wanted to see. But this time I feel like I've really been seeing changes, in as much as, you know, like my body, I've grown, like my whole body has just expanded.
Right.
And
I know you keep coming with like t-shirts that don't quite fit you anymore.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, it's great, but it sucks because I love those shirts. I've had some of those shirts for like over 15 years.
Yeah.
And they're just, I have to give them away. So that's been really nice. And going to the gym and being able to build muscle way faster is really nice. And I've been getting facial hair, but not nearly as fast as I would like. But I still like have to shave my face all the time now, which is.
I wish I could just give you some of mine.
I do too.
Because like I've been off of testosterone blockers for a few weeks because I don't have access to them. And like I just shaved. Yesterday I shaved twice, and I'm just like, I'm back to like shaving like I was before I started hormones 3 years ago. And it's like, I didn't think I minded that much because I was still shaving every day, which kind of still felt like a lot. But now that it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, but you know, it's like, it's whatever. So I shave a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a pain though.
Yeah, but it's whatever for now. I think it's just temporary.
Yeah, it will be just temporary.
Yeah, and luckily I think I've gotten to a place where like I just can be a lot more comfortable where I'm at in my transition as well. Like a couple of years ago or whatever, I probably would be freaking out a lot more about it, and I would be very unhappy about it, and probably pissed at everyone and myself and everything. And I'm just like, okay, this is just the way it is right now. I don't mind it that much. My friends around me aren't poking fun or making comments about it. My boyfriend, you know, he's cool with it. Like he, you know what I mean? Like he's not like, ugh.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that we can kind of like work through or whatever.
He's great though.
He is. Yeah. That's something. I know it's so weird saying boyfriend.
I know, I love it though.
But just because we're grown, you know, it's like I think of girlfriend and boyfriend, to me, it's like it just makes me think of my much younger years.
But I mean, it's still, what else would you call him?
Yeah, we were just reflecting on it's been 4 months since we've been hanging out.
Oh, wow.
Which is so crazy to think.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah.
It seems like it was just yesterday.
And it's none of your business, people. They're like, who is she dating? They don't care. But
yeah. But yeah, it's been a year of a lot of growth for me because the summer before last, I finished my ketamine therapy, and I was kind of still stuck in this place. I was unhealthy up until this year, and now I've really been able to see a lot of the positive changes from that. So that's been really exciting. And I think that I wouldn't have necessarily started testosterone again if I hadn't had that experience. You know? So I've just been really focusing on being as mindful as possible and just enjoying every day as much as I can.
Yeah, this year was definitely a year for me where I felt like I needed to kick it into gear. Just in the sense of like I took a long time to be away from everyone and everything. Like a lot of my relationships changed with my family and my friends and work and so many things, and even with myself. And I was just like, I was at a point that if you couldn't like show up for me in a certain way, I was done. Like I just had to I really shut down, and I got to where I was pretty isolated and pretty alone. And so by the time I was ready in a lot of ways to kind of like, because I felt like my life had plateaued in so many ways, emotionally, mentally, financially, every way, you know, I just kind of plateaued. And part of that was I reached a point that's more about me than it is about anything else. And so my transition has been a big part of that, but my transition has also like caused me to like make changes in relationships and changes in the way that I live and my sex life and things like that have all been really good for me. So it's just been adjusting to all that. So this year, you know, I started my own business. I started a queer chaplain, which is something I've been doing for years, but it actually like get an LLC and go through that process. I'm starting to debate whether or not that was a good idea or not, but I did do that this year, which felt good at the time because I'd been kind of putting it off just because I was scared of like just taking that leap, even though I'd been doing the work pretty much for a long time already.
I think that my transition, not necessarily my transition, but everything surrounding it, like where we are politically in this country right now, forced me out of a lot of different comfort zones. You know, with like this, especially because, you know, before I wasn't really vocal about my transition, and I thought that it was more of a private thing, not something that I really cared to talk about, right, to be honest. And after everything happened, I was like, no, we we have to
Mm-hmm.
be vocal. We have to talk about it. We have to make sure that people know that they're not alone, keep people as informed as possible, try and bring people together. And that goes into what you were saying about being uncomfortable in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
but we feel like we have to. So the same goes for, like, because of the work that we do here,
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting more used to being in front of the camera. So I've been able to do more for like the ketamine advocacy business thing that I have.
Right.
And just, it gave me the confidence that I needed to be able to move forward in
Mm-hmm.
other avenues of my life.
Yeah.
So it's been as awful as it and scary as it has been, you know, where we are right now in this country. It's
Mm-hmm.
also kind of helped me to step into the role that I feel I want to be in.
Yeah,
You know?
a lot like what we talked about in our holiday episode was this idea, like, if it's uncomfortable, lean into it. If it's painful, maybe not. And I feel like this year was a year of a lot of discomfort, but not pain necessarily, or not painful growth, put it that way. And that's not to say there wasn't pain. There was lots of different pains, but I think most of it was leaning into the discomfort and growing there. And like, for me, I'm a lot more comfortable in front of the camera. I like a camera because I do this sort of stuff more regularly. And I actually have transitioned on camera, which is kind of cringy to look back at some of my old stuff and see my transition. And it's also kind of, you know, a nice thing too. But the thing that's been challenging for me is just being back in Boise, Idaho, and being an advocate, an activist, involved in kind of like as a leader, a reluctant leader. And then just kind of dealing with I was so young when I did it before, and I had become to have such a toxic relationship with, I guess, my identity and my role in the community and my personal life and my love life. And I really struggled with like having a healthy relationship with all that. And so I was really nervous of kind of getting myself back into that same way. But the cool thing is I've noticed that it's different, and that I'm able to balance things a little bit more. And I'm not great at some things still, and that's okay. And I've just kind of been leaning on other people to kind of get me through those parts. But
and that's part of the process of growing, I think. You know, just surrounding yourself with people that will lift you up. You know, like that saying, like, you are a representation of your 5 closest friends. You know, and I always really think about that, and I'm very particular with the people I choose, you know, to surround myself with, because I want to be around people that will force me to be better and allow me to, and help me to change in a positive way.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way. If I think of like my 5 closest friends, they're all mostly newer friends that I've come to, that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's me. I'm a reflection of them. I'm good. I'm down with that. Yeah, that feels good.
See, I think that's really important. And
no shade on past friends.
Right.
No,
of course not.
It's just kind of like and maybe where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And like this version of myself that's where I'm at. And I think that, you know, I struggled with a lot of the similar things, with maybe not being the healthiest when it comes to certain things, like with my identity. And I think right now, everything that happened had to happen in such a way for me to become the person that I am now. Because I think this year I've been experiencing everything in a healthy way, in a happy way, for the first time ever. It's like I'm a new person, like I'm getting to experience life kind of for the first time through a brand new lens. And that's beautiful, but it's also scary.
It feels weird. It feels awkward.
It feels awkward. And I'm still having to unlearn so many toxic traits that I had, because I had spent my whole life being this really miserable, depressed, toxic person. And now I don't have depression anymore. But if I'm in a situation, especially with other people, my go-to, like my reflex, is to respond as like a sick person, like with anger or with doubt or judgment. And that's been really difficult, because I don't feel that way, but I just feel that's my initial response.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like those thought patterns, and we just have to say like, oh no, I don't think that way anymore. Yeah, this is disappointing. Yes, I'm sad about this. I might even be mad, but I'm not gonna it's not going to hit me and take me out in the ways that it used to.
Mhm.
Even though the thoughts can start to begin. Yeah. I've had to learn to just like hush that critic
Yeah.
really quick.
My biggest problem is being so guarded. Because my whole life I had learned through experience after experience that people will hurt you or disappoint you in some way, or they'll leave either by dying or something tragic. So this year I've been really trying to push myself to allow people into my life because, and I know there are a lot of people that know me, they know that I've always been very like, you stay there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying really hard to get past that. So the friends that I am making now, I really appreciate those friendships because it feels so novel. It's like it's novelty to me.
Yeah.
And I really cherish that because I haven't really experienced genuine friendship like that since I was a kid.
Yeah. I've definitely been valuing a lot more reciprocal or being more on the same level. I think I've had a hard time in my own life. I think growing up the way that I grew up, a kind of the overachiever, someone who had to do well in order to get away. I've always been really big on like helping others and being of service to a point that sometimes is gross and doesn't really allow well for like good balanced friendships. Like the last few years, I've really learned what it means to like really ask for help and like what it means then that it's okay to need help and what needing help looks like, you know what I mean? And some of that is just having deep relationships and connections with family and friends, chosen family, mostly this year. But and really being able to ask for like, it's just weird because I think I was always afraid to ask for help because somehow it made me seem like I was less worthy of, which was totally contrary to like what I knew. So it's been really cool to kind of find myself because, a few years ago, I remember having a moment. I was the downest I've ever been. Like I was ready to like lock myself up in a mental hospital a couple of times. And I felt like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, like, help me, like fucking help me. And I felt like I was saying it to every person in my life, strangers, like online, and nobody was getting the message. And I really had to come to realize that I don't know how to ask for help. I don't know how to be seen. I've been working so hard at being seen as a person who didn't need help, as a strong person, as a person who you can rely on and go to, that I didn't teach the people around me and I didn't let the people around me know how much they meant to me, how the role they played in my life and how they could continue to show up for me. Because I think people were just always like, oh, she's strong, she gets over shit, she always pushes through. Yes, things are shitty, yes, things are hard, yes, but she always comes through. My mom used to always say that, and then all my friends and the people around me, and it became toxic. I think that was traits, and like it pushed me through a lot of my life, but I think it really caused me to plateau. And this last year I had to really find a way to knock myself down. And a lot of this is like it's my perception, it's my point of view. It's less even what the world is doing, but more of like how I'm showing up and how am I presenting myself and communicating to the world how to interact with me. And I was just failing. It just became different what I needed from the people around me, what I could provide. I found myself turning away from certain relationships and potential toxic support, like when people want to work with me around recovery or different things. There's times when I've had to be like, no, like I have to trust my intuition and be like, this is not the one for you to show up for it because you can't, because you're not well enough, or sometimes people have a certain struggles that they're going through that are still so difficult, or bring up stuff for my own that I'm unable to really show up in a way that I think is really helpful for them and that is still also not harmful to me or harmful to them in the long run too.
It's hard because you teach people how to treat you.
They say that all the time. And
but it's because I am the same way. And I would get so frustrated that no one would call and check up on me or any of these things that I would do for my friends. So I was like, well, what is this? Why is this so one-sided? But then I have to look back and be like, I've never asked for help.
Yep.
Like,
and even when people offer you help, you say, "Oh no, I'm good.
No, I'm fine."
Yeah.
And I think for me, a lot of that comes from toxic masculinity.
Mm.
You know, like growing up, I was really affected by toxic masculinity, just because of the way that I was raised,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's safer for me to keep people away, but then I need them. So it was this weird mix up that I struggled with for way too long, because, you know, while I needed help, I also wanted to stay safe by keeping people away from me. And I think now I'm trying to embody the idea that it is an act of strength and courage to ask for help.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's the strongest thing we can do because it's the most vulnerable thing.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, that's why I think even in the Bible and other things, they talk about that idea, like the strength in our weakness, right? Which sounds like a paradox or whatever. But yeah, I think to be weakest, like I always strive for a soft strength. And that's, so it's not so hard, I guess. But I don't even know where. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
We're talking about it.
Yeah. Well,
but that's how our conversations always go.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We always get going, and it just tends to make sense, I think, in the long run.
Well, did you want to talk about your holiday?
When did I want to talk about my holiday? It was, you know, as I spoke to, was excited to go home. I did go home and be with my family. I really tried to have low expectations. I had a great time with my mom and my brother, and it was so. My mom is, yeah. She's really struggling with her cancer. She started chemo again yesterday. Hopefully she's just got 3 more. And so it was really hard to see her, because I don't see it on the daily, you know? And so to see her have to have chairs set up in the kitchen so she could, because she loves to cook, she loves to entertain. And so to see her have to like sit at a chair and then get up to like stir a pot, or, you know, and so I did what I could to help cook things and do the dishes and that sort of thing, and had a really great time with my mom. As soon as I got there, though, my dad ran into the room and he didn't come out the whole time or acknowledge me or anything. And so it was like back to old shit. And I really tried to just not let it bother me or not notice. And I did, I think, for the most part. But like the last half hour or so, I was like starting to get pissed and hurt by it, and in a way that I couldn't not, because I was trying not to let my mom sense any sort of anything about it. Right. And so, but about the last half hour, I was just like, I was hurt. I was just like, why did you invite me? Like, we've been in a no talk zone for a long time now. So like, that's no big deal, but it's like, you invited me, you know? But my brother did call me the next day and he said, don't give up on dad. He's like, just don't give up on dad. He had intended, and he just freaked out. So I don't know. I know there's a part of me that wants, like, I appreciate hearing that humanity of him, but then also I'm just like, what the fuck is it? Like, there's no issue.
Exactly.
You know what? Like that's the thing that's so frustrating to me, you know? And it's also nice to hear that he wants to, but for whatever reason, it's really fucking hard. And I can have some my brother, I think the fact that my brother just called me and asked me really also led me to think that maybe he had a conversation. I don't know. And maybe it was. And it was helpful to hear that, because I think I was just like, what the fuck? Like, why did you, you know? And instead, and I didn't think of like, well, maybe he intended to. Maybe he freaked out. Maybe, you know, because I was just too stuck in my own feelings, which is fine. But so it's like, but that's like the challenge. Like, I have reason to be upset and pissed and be like, it's not okay. And it also could benefit me to have some compassion and I guess hold on to some hope.
That's really impressive, because I am just so fucking beyond that with people right now. Like, I don't know how much people like consistently listen to these, but I have a fantastic family. I'm very supportive. But over break, so my partner's friend, they have a friend who is transitioning and just went home and came out to their family on Christmas, like right around then.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it shockingly did not go well. It went really fucking bad. And my partner's mom is real close with this person, and tried to reassure her and was like, well, you know, it just takes, she was saying all the wrong things to this person. And it's just, well, it's going to take them time. You know, they're mourning the person. They had hopes and dreams for blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, yeah, her heart was in the right place, but that's not okay. Like, I fail to see the issue because I've seen the flip side. Like, I've played that tape out so many times, not only with like people that you read about, but people that I've known that are like, oh, okay, I'm not accepted. And then they die, you know? So it's like, what is so much of a fucking struggle for you that you don't want to see this person?
Yeah.
Like, it does not connect for me.
I don't get it either, but I know there's something because my father has always been a huge advocate and supporter of me. He hasn't always been happy with who I am and what I'm doing with my life, but he's always like still was kind of proud and all these sorts of things. So there is something that there's just something that I don't understand. That is keeping him from showing up in a way that I do believe he wants to. You know.
Well, I really hope that because I believe it will, it's just a matter of time. I really want to learn from it because I am coming from the opposite end where I have very little empathy and compassion for people like that. And I need to learn also because I don't want to be closed-minded, but I'm also coming from a place of like constantly being on the defensive. So it'll be interesting to see what his reasoning is.
I mean, it's taken me some time. It's taken me some time, but I think also like my brother, you know, saying that to me, I have people around me that I can talk to and they like checked in, hey, how'd it go? And so I think I'm just in a different place to where I can put away my own hurt and feelings and disappointment and stuff, partially because I already gave up on it in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? It was kind of like brought back up, but I think it's sad, but I felt like I had to really do that in order to get to a place of like really knowing in my heart of hearts, I do know my father loves me. He just is struggling to show up for me in a way that I think he truly wants to, and that I would love for him to. And I don't fully understand, but I do believe that he loves me and he cares about me and he really is just struggling. And part of me was like, well, fucking work harder, you know, but you know, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just, like I said, a few months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, fuck off. I did not have the capacity for it. And I don't know
that you've come so far in such a short amount of time.
I'm thankful for it. I am thankful for it. And I know people will have certain opinions and decisions, and I would have judged the fuck out of myself in what I'm saying today. But I'm being really honest and sharing where I'm at with this. And I have in a lot of ways had to shut down all my expectations and just be willing to show up, even if they don't call me by my name, even if they don't see me for who I am now, even if it's something I can't talk about, at least now. I think if it continued on and on and on, I just would stop going because there would just be no need to or purpose to. But I still have a desire. And so that's really what I'm trying to listen to and really trying to be honest with myself about, I guess, you know?
See, I don't think there's any reason to judge that at all. I think it's really
I don't either.
Beautiful. And I think that especially talking to the group of maybe younger people, I think that it's really something to look up to because it's so difficult to be able to accept things like that and come from a place of love and understanding. And I think that I myself would love to be more like that. Maybe one day I will be when I'm not so angry about everything.
Well, I'm learning from them because there is the challenges that I'm having, you know, and I think, you know, I was apprehensive of even talking about this because I don't want to paint my dad as a villain or any of those sorts of things. And it feels like it's private and personal, but also like, I feel like that's part of like what we're trying to do is help people not feel isolated in whatever it is that they're going through. And some people might be able to hear this and maybe have some thought of like thinking maybe coming from dad's point of view, and that can be okay. as long as you are still you okay, you know, and there's just certain times in our lives where we don't have the capacity for that. We have only the capacity for what serves us and makes us feel good all the time or most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, I have a little bit of capacity right now. I think because other parts of my life are healthy and feel good, that I can be a little wonky. I'm very content with my life, which I would say is like, if I could say one word for 2024, I would say content, or satisfied, which is a word and a phrase I don't think I've ever been able to label anything in my life, because I'm always like, oh, that could have been better. I could do this. And it doesn't mean that like everything's perfect, but I am really content with where things are at, because I can see where they're going. I can see where I came from, and I feel really okay. It's not ecstatic. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not a woohoo kind of feeling. At times it is, but I'm content with so much of my life in so many areas that a year ago I was really struggling with. But I do feel like I put a lot of work that finally has come into manifestation.
Manifestation. I think my word would be hopeful. You know, I had a lot of ambitions and goals at the beginning of the year, and
do you feel like you met them?
I think I met some of them. I think that a lot of the goals and the accomplishments that, you know, I've met throughout this year were completely unexpected, and I never would have guessed or anticipated, because they were things that just sort of happened out of, I feel like, necessity, and things that, because of what has been happening and how afraid everyone is. And I think that this role for me was sort of created, and like for myself, like the kind of person that I want to be. And I'm really hopeful that I can continue this growth and become an even more authentic version of myself by this time next year.
Yeah. I think the timing is right. I mean, I know that we've talked about it a long time, but you and I think are becoming the people that we've wanted to become as trans, like an activist, and like, you know, people who care about shit and try to do something about it. Like, exactly. And we've talked about even working together a lot, and it just hasn't, the timing hasn't worked for us. And I always knew it wasn't us, as in like, we shouldn't work together or we can't work together, but it was more of like, neither one of us are ready yet.
You're right. Absolutely.
Like, I always felt that it was never like you know, it was like, okay, now it's not the time. Now it's not the time. Now it's not the time. And then it just clicked.
And at the time I thought I was so ready. Right. But then looking back on it,
there was still work. There was still work we needed to do.
Yeah.
Like, but I do think that we needed to kind of like say it to each other so that, I don't know, so that we knew it was possible. And then the work, then you can do the work to prepare for it. It's kind of like, I know it's like, I always feel weird talking about spiritual shit in here, but they're like, kind of be careful what you pray for, be careful what you ask for, you know? And it's this idea of like, I'm putting out there that I want to do this thing. It's like, okay, all right, you can do it. But like, in order to do it, you need to like do this, this, and this, and this, and you need to learn this, and you need to let go of this, and you need to, you know, in order for this thing to happen. But yeah, you can have it. But it's going to be a journey.
It's an example of that, because like in recovery in 12-step, they say like, don't pray for patience, because then something will happen in your life where you desperately need to be patient, and it's just fucking terrible. But one thing I've seen, you know, that stone moldavite, there's a stone called moldavite, and
moldavite,
what
color is it?
It's like,
I'm like,
blackish blue.
Okay.
No, and it's, I think everyone that wears it, I guess it challenges you to be like a better person, better version of yourself. But I've heard so many stories of people wearing it and then just terrible fucking things, like, oh wow, horrible adversity happens, and then they have to. But like, my partner just wears it and dares it, and I'm just like, it makes me very nervous. So that's just my superstition coming in.
I know, right? I was like, not a very superstitious person, but I think I am in ways that seem cringy at times. But I'm a skeptical person too. Which is always, I'm always like, my sponsor is always like, girl, could you just do something? Because she'll be like, she'll make us, how about we do this? I'm like, how about we do this? It could be this like silliest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, there was one thing that happened on my vacation that I want to talk about.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. So it was me, my partner, and my mom, my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a steakhouse, which is already like a conservative breeding ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing my best to fit in, you know, like I wear like a hoodie and a flannel over that, like bulky, you know.
Like sub bra.
Yeah, exactly. Just try to like blend into the walls. And we're there, and my parents, they're both deaf, right? They can barely hear anything. My mom has hearing aids, in this instance, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter, yeah.
So she felt like it was the appropriate place to talk about my aunt, who asked like about my gender and about pronouns. And my aunt has like a master's in English or something, and she was saying that she just can't do it with the they them because it's not proper English. So we had a big conversation about how it is, and then it's steadily getting louder. In
the volume.
Yeah, it's starting to get louder and louder. And my mom was like, "Well, I told her that if she didn't want to use they them, to just go ahead and call you he then." And then she just kept repeating it, calling you he then. She could just call you he then. And everyone like started to, and I was like, okay, can we talk about this somewhere else? Because I was already getting looks from these like ultra conservative men that were just like, I see you, you know?
Right.
And I just think that, and my dad thought it was really funny because he's like, heathen, you know, it's just a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I wasn't laughing.
Yeah, no, it's like just a typical
it's a
family thing.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to touch on how important it is to use the right pronouns in public. Because instances like that. Yeah, because of safety. I felt so exposed in that instance, because normally here, like, I will go so far out of my way to not draw any attention to myself and to go as far into like passing as possible for me.
Yeah.
So then just kind of yelling it out to everybody, I was like, I'm gonna get fucking hate crime on the way to the car. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's like the one thing that's been a struggle with my family has been pronouns and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think the people closest to us have the hardest time.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just because I'm the same with my family that you are, like with your dad, right? I don't care. Like if they say it when we're at home, whatever. The only time that I really get frustrated is when we're around other people.
Yeah.
And not because I'm like, because I get upset by being misgendered. I understand why my family has.
It's more about the concern.
Yeah, it's the safety concern.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to living here in Boise where it is dangerous. And I know there are a lot of people that will argue and say it's not dangerous. It is fucking dangerous here. You know, like we have had experiences personally that were dangerous.
Yep.
So, and Nevada used to be a swing state, but it's red now. So it's just, and fucking Reno, come on, anything can happen there.
Right.
So I don't know. I just thought that was something that people might be able to relate to.
Yeah. What are you thinking for 2025? Since we did kind of like a word for 2024, what kind of word or phrase would you like to spit out into 2025? Spit might not be the nicest word, but
yeah, that's
project out.
Project, that's a good one. I'm just feeling like just this sense of overcoming and accomplishing things. You know, I feel like 2025 is going to be difficult in a lot of ways that we aren't prepared for yet.
Yeah.
Just
kind of a year of reaction.
Yeah. And just, we're going to be presented with a lot of challenges that we can't even imagine right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like the prevailing thing is going to be that we will overcome.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I think it might be a difficult year in general, but yeah, we will overcome and we shall overcome. Like that's like a given to me. How difficult it's going to be is I'm unclear of, but I feel prepared and as ready as I can be. as we can be, as
Mhm.
like even our community can be, I think, you
Yeah.
know, like beyond just you and I.
Mhm.
But I do think our community, we are ready to overcome.
Yeah.
And we're ready to meet whatever comes our way as it comes our way,
Mhm.
and do what we can to take care of ourselves and the people around us.
Absolutely. I think this year for us was sort of getting established and collecting resources.
Yeah.
So now moving into 2025, I feel like we are prepared with all of the things that we need to successfully navigate whatever comes our way.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for what is to come. It's not like to me, I feel like there's so many options, and there's so many things that can come, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to bring more people on to join us, and who have projects and ideas and things that they're doing that we can just try to help in some way or another. You know, I'm just really excited to kind of start to have that relational dynamic with trans and non-binary folks, but also folks that are wanting to work with us and show up for us, and really working and teaching them, and you know, gaining strength from them as well. So yeah, and I think that's something we're going to try to talk about next week, or on our next episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about, and we would like to invite you all to join in. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that we are working on or that we anticipate for 2025. But we're also curious and excited to hear from folks about things you think should be happening, or maybe things that you are doing, maybe things you're hoping for or you're concerned about, and we can continue to kind of work to collaborate and address those sorts of topics and conversations. So should we say goodbye?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you want to say goodbye?
All right. Yeah. Thank you all for being here with us this week, and we will see you next time.
Right, take care. Bye-bye now. My leg is asleep.
Really?
Because I had it up like that, but I was afraid to move and flash.
Oh, shit. That's right. We can edit it.
That's what happens.
We can edit it out.
My guy friend, we're still recording, so my guy friend called it my snow bunny look. So I was
I could totally see that.
Like, I'll put it on today.
Yeah, you just need like one of those,
some muffs and some gloves and a big coat.
Really fuzzy earmuffs, and like maybe one of those poofy beanies with like the pom on top.
I do have the puffy earmuff.
That's perfect.
But I thought they were a little extra for this.
No.
It
would be perfect.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, it's.
I'm gonna turn this off.
Okay.
Yeah, you think? Or do you want to keep talking?
No, I'm just going to talk about.
Do you all want to keep listening? Wow. Check in the next one. We'll leave it at that.